Please, well, let's wait for the bell. We'll rise for the invocation and stuff after the bell's done. So.
Dear Lord, thanks for getting us all here safely today. Be with those that could not get here. Be with our first responders, including our utility drivers and snowplow people. We ask you for guidance today as we travel home, and keep us safe as we go to our different ways. We thank you for the opportunity to meet today in a public setting to do governmental work for Barry County. We ask you to bless our endeavors and give us the wisdom to make good decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the purposes of attendance, the clerk will call the roll.
Connor?
Here.
Geiger?
Here.
Gibson?
Here.
Jackson?
Here.
Parker?
Here.
Smelker?
Here.
Wing?
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Approval of the written agenda. At this time, any commissioner or member of the public may ask for an item to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under items for consideration.
I would like item A removed and placed into items for consideration.
Is there any other requests? So the consent agenda without objection.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Reports from state and county officers. Does any state or county officer or their representative have a report to share with the board? All right, limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. George Hupka, Johnstown Township. Before I start, I'd like to have a disclaimer that I have never been a client of Mr. Galu's. I know the gentleman from having met him probably 20 or 30 years ago, saying hi to him in the courts building now and then or on the street. And so I have no interest especially for Mr. Galu's. I would like to thank Commissioners Gibson, Smelker, and Connor, as well as Mr. Galu's, for exposing the stints and sleaziness going on in Barry County in relation to the selection of the indigent defender list and employment of those attorneys. Looking at the article in the paper, that's how I first became aware of it. I followed it up with a few phone calls, one to at least 2 commissioners or 3 commissioners, the person, Carrie Selleck, and talking with the person that wrote the article in the paper. And from that, I can take and, first express my disbelief that there wasn't a formal application process that, at least according to the paper, checked on their credentials and had an interview involved. Most jobs, you go to McDonald's, they have you fill out a piece of paper and you at least sit down and talk to the manager that day. I don't know here why the county, and spending $300 and some $1,000, wouldn't have that process going on, whether it's done by the department head or this commission. You spend more time interviewing people for the Ag Preservation Board and the Charlton Park Board, and that doesn't sure spend $300 and some $1,000, the Ag Preservation Board. The process, as it sounds like, was a good old boy, scratch my back, I'll get in bed with you, you get in bed with me type of thing. When you have a person write a recommendation for a person to get the position of director, and then you take and in the process subsequently get appointed to that list to be part of that $325,000 pot, it sure sounds like a quid pro quo. Maybe it's not, but it sure sounds that way. It just, has a little bit of a smell to it, as was mentioned, I think, in the paper. You're spending $300,000 plus of our money on those 10 attorneys. I don't know, I asked about several different people how the number 10 came about. And I've been told everything from the fact that that was in the grant. I don't know, the grant must be somewhere. Somebody must have that. I haven't been able to see it. The editor of their paper didn't have a copy of the grant to tell me that it was in there. I don't know if you commissioners ever saw the grant, but, it seems like 10 or 11 wouldn't be a big difference. If you had 11 defending last year, why wouldn't you want 11 defending this year when I was told by her that the caseload evidently is going up? So that contradicts itself right there by her statement to me. I would ask that you postpone the approval of these contracts, do a little investigation, and find out what's really going on here. Possibly you've got some other attorneys there. I think one of the basis I saw for the pay rate was the years of experience. And I'm sure that Mr. Galuz and 6 or 8 of those other people on that list have a lot more experience than probably 3 or 4 of them. I would even bet, not knowing them personally, that at least 4 of them probably weren't even born or in school when Mr. Galuz began practicing law. So if you're talking experience, I think you need to take and examine it, find out why this director decided and had a burr under her saddle or was teed off at him or something and didn't put him on there. The other issue is I talked to another attorney in one of the larger cities about this and showed him the article. And he says, they're just waiting for a lawsuit. The county is probably looking down the road that if some indigent gets convicted, the appeal attorney is a smart one or a money grabber. He will go after ineffective counsel because you didn't have the most effective attorney on your panel, Mr. Galuz. Thank you.
Is there any other limited public comment?
Alden Schellenberger, Carlton Township. I'd like to thank the commissioners who voted against this. They see the disturbing problem in this. Also, I am willing to take, and if this goes forward, I'm willing to take and file a complaint with the Judicial Tenure Commission or the Attorney Grievance Commission because this isn't right. And whether some of you know or not, there is an Attorney Grievance Commission, which there is a procedure overlooking attorneys. And the reason why that is because of the recommendation that was written for Amy Selick from Gordon Shane McNeil. And that's a conflict of interest when you hire somebody who writes a letter of recommendation when they're hired. So I'm just letting you know that I'm prepared to take and file a complaint with the Attorney Grievance Commission to have them overlook this. And then when I do this, then the county's attorney through your guys' insurance company is going to also have to take a look at this, which is going to wind up costing you guys money to have him look at this.
Thank you. Is there any other further public comment? Seeing none, various correspondence. Does any commissioner have any correspondence to share with the board? Consent items. Commissioner Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda. Approval of January 22nd, approval of February 5th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Approval of the attached reimbursement grant agreement in the amount of $2,500 with 270 Inc. to pay for spay-neuter of shelter animals prior to adoption and authorize the board chairperson to sign it. Approval of the attached 2019 Indigent Defense Fund budget for review, revenue and expenditure line items. Approval of the attached CCAB revised bylaws and to authorize the chairperson to sign the written bylaws. Approval to purchase a new Chevrolet Tahoe to replace a 2013 Chevrolet Tahoe damaged in a car deer accident on December 30th, 2018, with funds to be paid from the vehicle fund. Approval to reappoint Cindy Buja to serve on the Berry County Parks and Recreation Board in the position representing the Berry County Economic Development Alliance for a 3-year term that began on 1/1/19 and expires on 12/31/2021.
Second?
Motion made by Connor, supported by Parker, to approve the items listed under the consent agenda. Discussion is not allowed, and a roll call vote is required. The clerk will call the roll.
Connor,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smelker,
Yes.
Wing,
Yes. The consent agenda is approved. Presentations. We have one this morning. It says on our agenda that we have two. Mr. B, with the weather, decided not to try to make it here today. So with that, we have Mr. Kolonowski, President and CEO of High Point Bank.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for your time this morning. The purpose of my visit today is to provide information to all of you about our recent rebranding and name change to make sure that you hear firsthand on what we were doing and to also answer any questions that you might have. We've been out in force, our team, making sure people understood what we were doing because as a society, we've been programmed to think that when a name changes at a bank, it is a bad thing, and that there is somebody is buying somebody or things are changing. And we knew that going into this. And the decision that we made to change the name was for the exact opposite reason. We had made the decision strategically to be able to move forward, and we do see a viable future for us as the locally owned independent community bank here in Berry County with some adjustments that we need to make. As you know, we well know our industry has changed dramatically, and we have to continue to evolve to make sure that we can stay relevant in the future, and that's what our name change was all about. So with that, I did provide some information as far as effect on customers, which there was none, and what it meant for everybody should be in your packet, and I would gladly answer any questions that you might have about why we are making that move or anything else I could share with you about the bank.
Does anybody have anything for Mr. Kolonowski?
Just the transition seemed to be pretty seamless between Hastings City Bank and the new High Point Community Bank brand. Was there any significance in why the term High Point was chosen?
Yeah, we put a lot of thought into the name. We wanted a name that, first of all, wasn't geographically bound in any way, shape, or form, one that had community involved in it, and we were really looking to retain the acronym HCB. That's our holding company. That's the stock ownership of the bank is in HCB Financial Corp. So High Point was a name that we liked because it seemed to speak of positive things in people's lives. We thought that that would be appropriate.
I just have a comment. Yeah, I'm not big on change, so changing from Hastings City Bank wasn't big for me, but the part about it that I really liked when I walked into the bank the other day, nothing else has changed. So that's the part that I like.
Yeah, he doesn't like
Thank you.
change. So.
No, and we understand that. You know, I've been there 26 years. This was a difficult personal decision for me too, but so we're, again, trying to make it as easy as possible, and that's why customers, we say, keep your checks, you know, keep everything, don't change anything if you don't want to. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dan?
Can you speak to the thing about it's the second oldest, could you elaborate on that? It's
Sure.
kind of a proud thing to have.
Sure. So bank charters, we hold we're charter number 11. We were chartered, the bank was founded in 1886. That was before bank charters even began in the state of Michigan. They weren't even officially chartering them until 1889. So we were ahead of that. So it was kind of first come, first served to get your charters. We were charter number 11 back in 1889, and we are the second oldest existing charter out there right now. I believe Oxford Bank is the only other bank that still operates under their existing charter that was filed a few months before us back in 1889.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will,
Dave?
sorry.
Question just on strategy with the name change. Is this going to move into regional expansion? Maybe we're not privileged to the plans of the bank, but it seems like you're set up to be more of a player or put an imprint more on a regional basis.
Yeah.
Than, as you mentioned, to change from just the Hastings.
We do not have any specific growth plans at this time. You know, we currently serve, we have 7 branches in 5 counties right now. We feel that, you know, we're well positioned for growth within the markets we're in with better penetration of where we're at. That's probably the first thing we want to do. But we do know that it's not the cheapest business model that we operate, a very high-tech, high-touch combination of people. You can call us and somebody will speak to you kind of banking. We know that we're going to have some growth down the road, Dave, but we have not officially defined what that would be.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I pulled into the courthouse parking lot, which is pointing right towards your sign, and I will say that I was a little surprised when it didn't say Hastings City Bank there.
Yeah.
So, but everything is the same inside, and that later that day I had gone over there and utilized the services, but I mean, it was a little scary at first when I thought, what?
Right. Right.
Because I have done business there for quite a long time.
Sure, and we recognize there was no easy way to do what we did. Our board approved it back in November of 17, and we started the research in 2015 to get where we were. So we knew it was going to be shocking,
It was,
as you
yeah, it was
described.
shocking.
Yes, for sure.
Best kept secret in Berry County.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public hearings, we have none. Items for consideration, Commissioner Jackson.
Taking item 8-1 from our consent agenda, I move for approval of the January 22nd, 2019 Board of Commissioner meeting minutes.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Jackson and Smoker. Is there discussion?
When I read these meeting minutes, it had said under vice chair report that there was none, but I did give a report that day at that board meeting, so I can give Pam the information that I listened to it this morning just to make sure that I was right. And yes, I did give a report regarding township meetings and a missed meeting, a couple of missed meetings and a canceled one. So if you'd like, I can give her the wording after the meeting.
Good to me.
Objection? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none.
Do we need to amend that to put it as amended then?
Yep.
Make a motion to okay them as amended?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to include Vice Chair Connor's comments during the January 22nd Board of Commissioners meeting. Is there any discussion?
Probably you should table it till the next meeting, so you approve minutes that have been. Can't hear you. The proper thing would be to do is to wait until she has her amendment in the minutes before we approve them. Because she could write Ben Geiger's a nasty guy in her report, and then it just gets approved in the minutes.
Hadn't thought
So
of that.
let's,
Okay, well, I did say that it was, I can give you the wording, I mean, or if you'd like, but I can do it either way. I did mention,
so
Right, so table it.
Yeah,
We'll just table that
table it.
till the next Board of Commissioner meeting.
So is that a motion then, to table?
I heard a
Yes.
motion. Is there a second?
move-
And a second by Smoker to move approval of the January 22nd, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes to the next Board of Commissioner meeting on February 26th. Sorry, looked at the wrong day. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
I move for the approval of transfers and disbursements. Item A, approval for prepaid invoices in the amount of $4,010,999.70. Approval of claims in the amount of $62,713.56. Approval of commissioner reimbursement mileage in the amount of $829.99.
Support.
Been moved by Jackson, support by Smelker, for the approval of prepaid invoices in the amount of $4,010,999.70. Approval of claims in the amount of $62,713.56, and approval of commissioner reimbursements mileage in the amount of $829.99. The clerk will call the roll.
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smelker,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Wing,
Yes. Motion is approved.
I move for the approval of item D, approval of the attached 2019 contracts for Indigent Defense Council Services with Jackie Baker Sturgis, Carol Dwyer, Shane Henry, Kristen Hole, James Kinney, Gordon Shane McNeil, Ronald Pierce, Catherine Russell, Stephen Storrs, Kimberly Young.
Second?
It's been motion by Jackson, second by Parker, to for the approval of the attached 2019 contracts for the Indigent Defense Council Services with Jackie Baker Sturgis, Carol Dwyer, Shane Henry, Kristen Hewell, James Kinney, Gordon Shane McNeil, Ronald Pierce, Catherine Russell, Stephen Storrs, and Kimberly Young. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Here are the facts. All these 10 attorneys pushed themselves through law school, found a practice, and logged years of experience defending their clients. And that's before they get on the list. To be on the list, this county and the state required an evaluation to prove they could provide quality, timely representation to their clients. This proposal was written by the book, and virtually everybody practicing law in this county stands behind the plan. Even though my opinion about Mr. McNeil has no relevance here, I want to share it. I've only known Shane since 2010. I was in high school when he was the prosecutor, so I was not around for the drama of that time. I've only known him to be an honest and decent family man. When he had the pharmacies, my experience with them was he was a man that cared a lot about his patients and about his staff. But my opinion on Shane doesn't matter. The only opinion that matters is Carrie Selleck's. And the right thing to do is to approve her plan unanimously, and let's leave the drama of the past behind us.
Is there any other discussion?
Could I ask Carrie a couple questions?
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, Carrie.
Morning.
Hey, just a couple questions for you. I mean, I wasn't around to hear some of the things, but I think there were some concerns that are duly noted by some of the commissioners on the board here. I don't feel it's my job to do your job, but my first question, I guess, would be the process that all 10 attorneys that are on that list are in good standing with the Bar Association.
They are, and that's been confirmed.
That has been confirmed.
It has.
Okay, so you go through and do an investigation, or at least in the process of those attorneys are in good standing. I don't know if you take input from judges, if you look at performance in the courtrooms, that type of stuff into consideration as well.
I absolutely did. Every year, we as attorneys have to recertify with the bar. We have to be in good standing, so we have to get new cards every year. As far as these 10 attorneys, the only exception is Mr. McNeil, who was not on the previous trial court indigent defense contracts. They have all been on the contract for a number of years, with the exception, I'm sorry, of Shane McNeil and Shane Henry. Mr. Henry is a newer attorney to the area. I have observed all of these attorneys in court prior to my decision. I have also spoken with all of the judges, as well as court staff, as well as observing them myself in court. It's important that I think everyone understands that the changes to the indigent defense system are a long time coming. And we as attorneys have been begging for some of these resources and the support and the services to help represent our clients for a number of years. So it is not simply just these 10 applied and they were chosen. It was more than that. It was a process. It was an application. It was a contract. It was making sure they were all in good standing. It was checking with the judges to make sure that when they show up in their courtrooms to represent their clients, that they are prepared, that they are timely, that they are meeting with their clients, and that they are serving their clients to the best of their ability. And I will tell you that I have had recently one client who was appointed to one of these attorneys actually make a special trip to my office last week to tell me thank you for the attorney that he received, because he's done an excellent job in representing him. That's what we're striving for. That's what the attorneys are striving for, and that's what we are doing. They are all doing an exceptional job. I have had no complaints from any of the judges or court staff about their performance since they began.
Okay. And my other question is just, obviously, if we move into a situation where there's an issue that requires discipline, or there's something going on with an attorney, if we go back to the future, so to speak, and there are concerns that are being addressed, as have been addressed by some of these other commissioners, what is your ability to terminate contracts or discipline attorneys if they are not performing up to a standard or up to an ethics level that we feel is appropriate in this county?
By signing this contract and agreeing to the terms of the contract, they are all agreeing that there's an evaluation process. They will be evaluated on a continuing basis from me as well as the judges. While the judiciary is part of the reforms is to keep the judiciary out of indigent defense appointments, they still have valuable input. So all of the attorneys as well as the court staff know that they can come to me if there are issues. We've had those discussions. Those issues, depending on what the issues are they small issues? Are they 10, 20 minutes late to court? Are they big issues? Are they not meeting with their clients as required? Because we have to report that to the state. That's part of our reporting requirements, and it's part of our duties and our paperwork. And so far, every single attorney is meeting those requirements. But certainly if we have an attorney, depending on what the issue is, I, of course, will meet with them. We can come up with a plan for corrective action. If they don't correct that action, they will no longer be representing indigent defendants in Berry County. We strive to be the best. We are providing the best services, and that's not going to change. And they all are aware of that. They know what is expected of them, and they know what the repercussions will be. And these are one-year contracts. They have to apply and be approved every single year. Because of the timing of everything and the way this fell, it's later than we would have liked, but I wasn't hired till mid-December. Trial court management contract expired December 31st. We were left in a bind. And so they have to reapply every year if they're interested in being on the list. It's not automatic. Changes can be made as necessary. And again, and it's always been, if issues have come up, even under the trial court contracts, if issues came up with attorneys, they were addressed with the attorneys by the judges. I am stepping into that role now.
Okay, and I just wanted to be sure there's a process in place that if there's an issue, I need to feel confident as a commissioner that we can take those, that there is a process that allows us to address disciplinary actions if there are things that have some concerns that have been addressed by my fellow commissioners. So,
and absolutely, and if it rises to a level that it is, quite frankly, that serious, it would certainly be brought to the commissioner's attention. But the discussions have been had with the attorneys as well as the judges and the court staff that any concerns, my door is open and they're free to come to me, and I expect them to come to me so that I can address any issues with the attorneys.
Okay. I appreciate that. Gives us more reassurance on the process. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep. Vivian.
Thank you. couple things. In the past, the indigent defense was over the purview of the judges in the court system. And
Correct.
one of the reasons that that was changed was constitutionally, it's kind of anti-constitution, because the judges who give a sentence to a prisoner should not be over the same attorney that's going to be supporting them.
That's part of the problem.
That is
correct.
part of the problem. So I like to keep that separation there, that the judges don't have purview over this.
And they certainly don't. They are allowed to have input per the standards from the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, but they do not make the decisions. And I think that's where the important distinction needs to come in. We've always been called court-appointed attorneys.
Correct.
We are not court-appointed attorneys anymore. And we're trying to make that clear when I'm present at arraignments and I'm talking to everybody who's in custody before they're arraigned on a criminal charge. And I talk to them about whether or not they can afford their own counsel or if they need an appointed attorney. Someone will say, well, I don't want a court-appointed attorney. And I tell them, that is not the system that we have here anymore. The courts are not in charge of the attorneys anymore. They certainly have input because their input is invaluable. They're the ones that see us on a daily basis and know what's happening in their courtrooms. But certainly, they do not have the decision-making authority anymore. And although that standard has not yet been adopted by the state, we've already implemented it here as part of our compliance plan.
Well, thank you for that. I will ask you the question about the 10. Where did that number come from? I don't know that.
And what I can tell you is our list here under the trial court has been 10 since I have been on it. There was an 11th attorney on the list for friend of the court matters only. That number has been in existence, again, in the last 12 years that I've been on the list because it's a balanced caseload for the 10 attorneys. It works well with the caseloads that we have, and it makes it economically feasible for attorneys to take court-appointed work. If you have 15 and 20 attorneys on your list, you lose your pool of talent, quite frankly, because it's not economically feasible. We put a lot of time and effort into these cases, and while it looks like it's a huge reimbursement to some people, if you really calculate out the number of hours someone spends on a CSC first case from start to finish, I mean, retained attorneys get $25,000 for those types of cases. We average $600. So it makes it economically feasible, and it's a good number that works. This is a small county in comparison to the surrounding counties, and I can tell you, even on Kalamazoo's list, when I was on their list, there was, I think, 22 of us total, and that's a much larger county, and they could have used more because they had a crime wave this summer. Our numbers have stayed steady. In some areas, they've gone up, but for the most part, it's a good number, and it's a number that works. And so there was no need to change it, and that's the number that was written into the compliance plan in November of 2017.
Okay, then, all right.
Yeah.
It was written into the compliance
It was
plan.
written into the compliance plan. And obviously, we don't have to change our compliance plan next year, but in 2021, we're going to have to come up with adjustments if the new standards are adopted, which we are already in compliance with 3 of those 4 that haven't been adopted. But if we have a need to expand our list or make our list smaller, we can do that. But right now, in November of 17, our compliance plan called for 10 attorneys, and there was no reason to change that.
And that was done by a committee that had been appointed, correct?
It was done by Ms. Straub. I did have some input into that. It was done by the county administrator's office with input from the judges, just to see what would work best. But that's where that number comes from.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, just a statement. Some time back, Carrie and I made an appointment. We talked about this. We went over practically everything that was just talked about here. When I left that meeting, Carrie knew how I was going to vote and knew why. And I just want to reiterate that. Nothing against Carrie and running her job. Her and I disagree on this, and I think all of you around here know that there can be disagreement. I'm going to stick to my vote.
Mr. Parker?
Yeah, I talked to all 3 judges and felt that there would be kind of an oversight just from the standpoint that if they see any shenanigans with some of the attorneys, they would immediately get to carry on the thing. And they felt strongly that, that it's a situation where, you know, we don't want to get on the slippery slope of trying to micromanage what she has been hired to do. And I agree with that too. I think she has opportunity to get a pass or fail grade with this thing, and we only have to wait a year to find that out. So,
Can I say something again? I do not feel that we are micromanaging. We are elected here for oversight. So I don't like the word micromanaging. And I also talked to the judges, I talked to the Bar Association, I talked to commissioners in other counties. Put a lot of time into this. So I just don't want you to think I came to this decision
I wasn't
real quick.
suggesting
Yes.
that. I wasn't
But this is,
suggesting
we have oversight over directors and we have budget oversight over elected. That's what we're elected for.
Is there any other comments? Seeing none?
Excuse me, can't get that out of my mouth.
Okay.
Yes. I too have thought about this since the last meeting or the last board meeting when we tabled it and brought it back today, and I am not changing my vote either. It has nothing to do with Mr. Galus's letter either. I did read that while I was away, but that is not why it's the exact same reasons I stated last time.
Commissioner Geiger?
I just see this as this isn't approving 10 people. This is approving a recommendation of the public defender. And we picked her because of her expertise. And none of us here have a law degree. So I guess let ye with more legal experience cast the first no vote.
No.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. The question before the board is the approval of the attached 2019 contracts for Indigent Defense Council services with Jackie Baker Sturgis, Carol Dwyer, Shane Henry, Kristen Hole, James Kinney, Gordon Shane McNeil, Ronald Pierce, Catherine Russell, Stephen Storrs, and Kimberly Young. The clerk will call the roll.
Gibson,
No.
Jackson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Smelker,
No.
Connor,
No.
Geiger,
Yes.
Wing.
Yes. The item is approved. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have none. County Administrator's Report.
I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Michael. Chairperson's Report. It has been a very interesting, cold winter-y month. So we've survived nicely. I think it's been a struggle for everybody to stay warm and stay safe. But I think we're all here and we're ready to keep moving and keep working. I've had an opportunity to visit most of my meetings this month. I have more tonight and tomorrow. Just want to get it on your agenda that the 34th Annual Walk for Warmth will be February 23rd at 9 a.m. here at the Green Street United Methodist Church, or Hastings First United Methodist Church. It is an opportunity for the Community Action Agency to raise money to help our local residents with their heating bills. Last year we raised more money than ever before for citizens of Berry County. And this Walk for Warmth drive overall, our whole district raised more money than they ever have before. So they have a silent auction. They have an opportunity for you to make a donation. Consumers Energy is there with their staff, and they're committed to helping this project too. So I have a flyer and more information if you guys need it. But it was great. We take a little walk around the city. It's a lot of fun. So with that, Vice Chairman's report.
Thank you. I was on vacation visiting my mother in Florida. I kind of questioned my sanity when I came home Saturday, but here I am. So
Did it add that Hastings City Bank sign was gone? Or like, what town did
that
I
was
come back
before,
to?
it was before I left, so, but yeah. But the service there was great. I have to say I had some trouble logging on from Florida, and I called, and the service still is the same as it's always been. I did attend the Highlands County Commissioner meeting, and I saw that they struggle with the same things that we struggle with, and that they have a lot more that their county covers, so there were things that we don't have any purview over, but they had a 7-page agenda, and it was mostly written out very similar to what we have here, but again, they have a lot of things that are different, and I did enjoy it. I met all 5 of them. It certainly was a very hectic time in that county because of the incident at the SunTrust National Bank in Sebring. So, but I enjoyed it very much. So, and I have 2 of my township meetings this week. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Commissioner Geiger.
Our planning commission meeting got canceled due to inclement weather, so that will be rescheduled. We had a solid waste oversight committee meeting on Friday. And Vivian, do you know there's a conversation about conservation thing coming up?
Yes, on the 22nd.
Okay, so that's something that all commissioners have been invited to. Sarah Nelson has brought together a lot of, actually all of the organizations in the county that make a positive impact on the environment and in terms of environmental stewardship. So it will be a big event, and I'm going to try to make it. That's all I have.
Commissioner Smucker.
Our airport meeting was canceled, not a quorum due to illness. Townships, Carlton Township is dealing with consumers on the road right-of-way and right-of-way for power poles and stuff. And I attended a leadership class with Dan and Heather. I thought it was a very good class. And I also attended a SMART meeting, I don't know if it helped Dan, with Dan in Kalamazoo. It was held at Kalamazoo. Am I stealing this from you, Dan, seeing you're on the SMART?
It's all right, I'll fill in whatever you
Okay.
don't do.
No, we can only have one smart person on the board.
Well, then I better keep talking. It was held at the new health department in Kalamazoo County. Very nice renovated building. And,
Warehouse.
huh?
It's an old warehouse.
Yeah. And it's huge. But,
45,000 square feet.
and.
Filling in for you.
That's good. That's good. And their talk was on their indigent defense. And they've decided to go with a nonprofit, 34 employees, 22 attorneys, about a $4 million budget. And Dan and I, on the way home, decided that ours is not too bad.
They have 262,000 residents
Yes.
though, in Kalamazoo County.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Gibson.
I'm just starting my cycle. I'll be at Hastings Township tonight.
Commissioner Jackson.
Same thing, just at the beginning of the meeting cycle. Hope Township was last night, and that was a 7-minute meeting. And Barry's tonight, Rutland's tomorrow. So Economic Development
barely
Alliance
sat
is
down.
going on. Yeah, exactly, love them. So,
Don't be
That's
late to
it.
those.
and I am enjoying winter. Snowmobiles are working just fine. Supposed to get 8 to 10 inches up north. I'm gonna visit it to be sure the trails are in good shape. If you're bored, come visit me, so, you know.
Works for me. Commissioner Parker.
Yes, I have had the SMART meeting, and that was interesting because John and I stayed afterwards and made an appointment with James Rutherford, who was their health officer, and he had also worked for the Barry Eaton County Health Department in the past. So we had a good open discussion on things, and it was very helpful in some areas. The other thing is that they're trying to gather all the permit fees and everything else, the smart people are. Gather all the information on all kinds of permits and fees and see if there's a possibility that maybe it would be a uniform type of fee or permit between different counties and that. I don't know where that's gonna go, but they're getting information on that. Always good to go there, and it makes you feel you appreciate your own county quite a bit when you share some of this stuff with other people. The other thing is Thornapple Township meeting last night. Basically, we don't have 7-minute meetings there, so I left after an hour. But if they're doing well, there's a lot of growth in that area. So they've got situations that come up that have to deal with the growth factor. Also shared with them the fact that we got Cindy Vujay now, Vuja. I finally found the real pronunciation of her name, so it's Vuja. And that she'll be coming on our Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec in the Middleville area is really important area because that's the kind of the trailhead there for the Paul Henry Trail. Let's see, leadership was very good. Been through several of those before, but it always is good to get reminded of the different things that we have to be aware of as commissioners and elected officials too. That's about it. And tonight will be Village of Middleville.
So on the leadership meeting, we did have one canceled the end of January because of the weather. It has been rescheduled. Michael, do you know the date? I did not write it in my calendar.
20th, I think, isn't it?
I want to say it's the 20th, the same time as the previous one, so it would be 5 to 8 or so. Same location. It is definitely worth going to. Even if you've been on a board for a lot of years, it's nice to have a refresher on how we all work together and what's our common goals. So.
On that, I'm going to get the agenda printed up from Michael and take it around to my townships and suggest that any committees or anything they have attend this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you, commissioners. Is there, or at this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes for limited public comment.
George Hupka, Johnstown Township. I guess if I heard the director of the Indigent Department correctly, she said they're not under courts anymore. It's a separate department of the county. Is that your understanding? To that end, I hope to be able to get you the applications of all 10 or 11 people that applied. I submitted and gave her a FOIA request on her way out for those papers. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, is there any other business to come before this board?
Where are we at with the jail stuff? And when are we going to have our meetings with the facilitator? No?
Haven't heard anything.
When did we delay that to, Michael, do you remember?
Memory serves me the end of February.
Second,
I thought we were waiting for the report on the health department before we took that up.
Oh, yeah.
Weren't we?
Howard did get back with us, didn't they, Ben, and give us a price
I haven't heard anything from them this month, so.
on the extra stuff?
I know it was postponed until the end of February, so there's was an action that moved the approval of the contract to next BLC, so.
So I guess we'll be dealing with it soon.
Yep, okay.
Any other business to come before this board? There being no further business and without objection, the board will now adjourn.
No objection.